can you tell me why is 1714 such a turning point for those three writers?
Okay. Well, 1714 is a big year for Defoe, for Pope, for Swift, because in different ways they had hitched themselves to the political rulers at the time. Defoe was financially dependent upon a ministry that paid him to do propaganda at the same time that he was writing his slightly more ambitious literary works. Pope and Swift were in the inner circle of a Tory ministry. They had this club called the Scriblerus Club, which produced parodic satirical writings, and the leading politician of the day, Robert Harley, really the Prime Minister, was a member. You know, they would sort of sit around after supper and compose verses and things together. And they were both under the illusion, as it turned out, that under the reign of Queen Anne, who was sympathetic to these Tory ministers, they were going to be near the heart of power. And this meant they would have the patronage of great men. It meant Swift was a clergyman. He thought it would mean he would get a big job in the church. He'd become a bishop, even an archbishop. He was a brilliant man. Why not? And in 1714, the Queen Anne, became mortally ill, and she didn't have an heir. She'd had lots of children, lots of miscarriages, but she didn't have a living. All her children had died. And by the Act of Settlement, which was agreed when she became monarch, the person who was going to take over was George I, a German, Elector of Hanover. He was going to come over, and he wasn't next in line to the throne, but he was a Protestant. And to the majority of men of power in Britain at this time, that was the most important thing. And nobody at the time knew really what the new regime would bring in terms of what political party the new monarch would favour, but it was probably not going to be the Tories. And, you know, like in lots of sort of walks of life still, you were who your contacts were. And people like Pope and Swift, I think, foresaw that with a change of regime was likely to come a change in their fortunes. In Swift's case, it was a big change. Ironically, actually, Defoe, who was the least well-known and apparently the least successful writer, was also the most adaptable. And he rapidly found employment with the new court and the new ministry. But Pope and Swift went from being insiders to outsiders.